Hi, everybody. This is Debbie Deno with Path to Heal, and I have my friend and mentor, Dr. Jeff Wolfman, with me today. Hopefully, you saw our first video where we gave you an overview about our favorite frequency-based wellness tool called the Kloud. But I'll put the link in the comments so that you can see that if you haven't seen it. But today, we're going to do a little bit more in depth, aren't we, Dr. Jeff? And
Yeah,
we're going to go into why the Kloud is different and look at some research findings. You've got a sneak peek for us and a few other exciting things that you've got. But guys, before we do that, I should tell you, if this is the first time you're watching Dr. Jeff, a little bit about him. He has been a family physician practicing functional medicine for over 30 years. And he works with thousands, over the years, has worked with thousands of really complex chronic cases. And over the course of that time, you found out about this frequency-based medicine and how that really fits into your practice and has helped family and friends. So that led us to the Kloud, and we're going to do a little bit more of a deep dive into that today. So, Dr. Jeff, I'm going to let you take over, and you've got some exciting things to share with us.
thanks, Dr. Debbie. So yeah, in the prior video, we kind of covered the space, the electroceutical space, and why frequency support is so critical at this
Right.
point in time, even more so than even 10 years ago, and how the Kloud is very, very different. Einstein once said, "The future medicine will be the medicine of frequencies."
Mhm.
And so it's really an important piece to thrive in these days. So one of the things I wanted to share is I had the opportunity to go to Centropics, which is the company that makes the Kloud. It's based in Liechtenstein. The Kloud itself is manufactured in Switzerland, but it's based in Liechtenstein, and I got to go there to headquarters as part of a group meeting that was there. And I got to meet Dr. Kafka, who is the creator of the German biophysicist who created the Kloud signal. Excuse me. And I also got to hear preliminary study results from the Kloud study. So the Sigmund Freud Institute at the University of Vienna is doing and is well into the largest ever PEMF trial done in the world. They are wanting to eventually get 1,000 people, but the preliminary results that I saw were based off of 440 people. And I can't show these results because they are not published yet,
Right.
but they were shared with us, no pictures allowed. And so I got to see some of the preliminary. It'll be published probably before year end in peer-reviewed journal and so forth. So I just want to share some of that because some people really want to understandably like what studies has been done on this. I mean, there are literally over 10,000 studies on PEMF as a general class. But this is a real world application, which I really actually like this study because, as you know, Dr. Debbie, sometimes things that are done in research settings, all controlled and carefully monitored, doesn't translate to real world very well.
True. Yeah.
A lot of times, like, well, that's great. They had got that happen, but that's not what I'm seeing. And it's a very different environment.
Right.
And so this was real world. Basically, what they did was people who purchased the Kloud, like went to your website, centropics.us/DRDEB, Dr. Deb.
Thank you.
They purchased the Kloud. They sent them a survey before it showed up at their house, asking from a well-established, standardized survey around multiple areas of life: sleep, discomfort levels, cognition, mood, the ability to do what you want to do on a daily basis, number of days you're limited to be able to do, how often you feel mentally exhausted, et cetera, on a scale. And then so then their Kloud shows up at their house in a box. No one tells them, Okay, calling them, did you use it? How did you, it just
Mhm,
showed up.
mhm,
People did what they did, and then
mhm.
they surveyed them 6 weeks later and completed the questionnaire again. And I think that's really like powerful because it's real world. These things showed
True.
up at the person's house,
Right.
and it was up to them to use it or not, and how they used it, and how
Mhm,
are they doing better afterwards.
mhm.
So I just want to set that
Great.
scene because that's like real world.
You're right.
That's what's happening. So the first thing is a lot of people have stuff sitting in their house that they don't use.
Mhm.
And so the number one was, do you use it? And 85% of people used it regularly.
Good.
So one, that's an indicator that it's simple. And
Mhm.
two, that there's positive reinforcement to continue using it. They are
Right.
seeing and perceiving something like, I want to keep doing this. There's no research team calling them, telling them, asking them. It's
Mhm.
100% self-directed. So there was no expectations, but 85% used it regularly.
Great.
And then another thing is, well, around how does this compare to other PEMF and so forth. So 40% of the people had used other devices in
Mm,
the past, either had them or used them. And 80% of those people were more satisfied with this compared
mhm.
to what they had used before, which is a total
Right.
no-brainer to me because it's just more complex. And if you watch the other video that we did,
Yeah, they'll
you can
understand why.
see why. Yeah.
Yeah.
So um, some of the key areas. So if you look at the entire group of 440 people, if, when people say, like one of the questions is, I have a good amount of energy, yes or no. The percent of people who said that at the beginning was quite low, like around 25%. After
Mhm.
after 6 weeks, like roughly 70% of people said, yes, actually I
Great.
do. I do have a good amount of energy. And that mirrors my experience. When I use it, I don't have to sleep as much. I'm less
Yes.
fatigued in general. Um, the percent of people saying, I have a lot of energy, which you don't hear that very often, right?
No,
When you
I
ask your
never hear that
clients,
from
how
people.
much, geez, I'd like to have more. So the number of people who said, yeah, I have a lot, increased by like 180%. So almost, 3 times more, 3 times more people said that
Great.
afterwards. And then pieces around I feel calm and peaceful. That nearly doubled. My social activity is impaired by my health. The percent who said yes to that dropped in half.
Great.
Those who say, I feel mentally exhausted, again, dropped by over half. The number of people said I have no fatigue, which was quite low to begin with, more than doubled. And also discomfort, like those who said, I have no pain. That
Mm,
increased as well.
wonderful.
Sleep problems. I have sleep problems, reduced by 50%. So those are striking,
Significant. It's not just a little, it's a lot.
striking
Hmm.
numbers. And I was like, what? And I actually saw the raw data, like the big book with all the stuff. And we were talking, and I'm just like looking through this thing and, checking it all out. So the other piece they did is, out of that group of 440, there was a subgroup of 100 people who said, I have severe fatigue, like at baseline.
Mm,
So they wanted to look at, okay, how's this severe fatigue group do? Pulling them out of the general group. Because,
yes.
these are people with all kinds of issues or no issues, but the group that said, I have severe fatigue. So 100% of them said, I have severe fatigue, this group at the
Right.
beginning. Those who classified themselves as having severe fatigue, after 6 weeks, dropped to 15%. Who
Oh,
classified themselves as, define themselves as that. Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. And, the number who said, I feel calm and peaceful, that increased dramatically. Because, this is the part I said before. If you want to be better, you have to feel better.
Truth.
So feel better to be better. And so this is, and you see that, right, working with people when they start getting they can't like necessarily think their way out of what's going on. Like they
Right.
have goals and dreams, or yeah, I know I
Right.
should do this and I want to do that. But they're just like,
They can't find the
I
motivation.
just can't. Well, why not? Well,
I don't know.
I can't even think about doing that. But as they start feeling better, then it's
Yes.
like, oh, I'm going to go back to school now. Well, why are you doing it now? Just going to do it. And it's just, yeah,
Something I've
And
always wanted
so
to do.
I always want, well, yeah, you always
Yeah.
wanted to do it for the last 8 years. Well, I'm just going to do it now.
Mm-hmm.
So mental exhaustion dropped dramatically. And I love this part. I had no desire to do anything. Like at baseline,
Yeah.
that was way up there. It dropped like 3 times, just which is what
Good.
we're talking about.
Yes.
Like, oh, no, I actually have the desire to do some stuff now.
Mm-hmm.
How
Mm-hmm.
come? I just feel like it, And so that's feel better, be better.
Right.
Yeah. And a significant drop in quote emotional problems. Like it was a generic, not just like I have emotional problems.
Right.
That dropped dramatically in the severe fatigue group. And
Excellent.
as well as discomfort. Let those who had a lot of discomfort, who said I have none, increased a lot. So
That's
almost
amazing.
doubled. So I was super impressed. And
Absolutely.
nothing is 100%. Disclaimer: this is a
Mm-hmm.
wellness and fitness device.
Mm-hmm.
It's not meant to diagnose, treat, prevent, or cure any disease or illness,
Mm-hmm.
but to help you function better and have higher levels of wellness and recovery and vitality. And so,
Awesome.
I know you are also like into probabilities. Like you want to do the things that are most likely to most help the most people, right?
Correct.
And nothing is universally, effective. But in terms of from a probability standpoint, with the study results and what I see, it's like a no-brainer. Like
Mm-hmm.
bring this in
Mm-hmm.
because you are greatly increasing your probability
Right.
of what you are trying to achieve. And it
Absolutely.
magnifies and multiplies everything else that you're doing, all the other supplements, body work, whatever else you're doing. It will
Mm-hmm.
just give the body the ability to respond to that more robustly.
Yes, I think that's really significant too, that it's not an either or. This, like we talked about in the last video, this works at the cellular level, the molecular level, activates our cells. So like you said, everything we do can be of greater impact
Yeah.
following
And
that.
when I hear that, because I've heard people say that before, like in other stuff, so and I'm like, oh, I don't know, but this actually does. I mean, it
Yes.
actually does because it's like, the metaphor was like if you have power tools with a dead battery, you
Hmm.
can't build a house no matter how many, ingredients you have there.
Absolutely. And that was, I love that analogy because I think that very simply states why we've got to charge ourselves.
Yeah.
We've got to charge them. And
Yeah.
whatever they're going to do, they're going to do
They're
it
going to
easier,
do it better
better.
and faster. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I'm really looking forward to hearing this data. But we were talking, there's something coming out really soon from around this idea. We're hearing so much and a growing amount of information about biohacking and longevity. It's becoming a buzzword, and well, I was actually reading something this morning in one of those news services. It's a several billion-dollar industry,
Yeah.
and so there's a lot of buzz about that. Um, let's talk. Well, first off, I want us to talk about how the cloud fits into that. But exciting news, you've got some stuff to share about an event that's coming out. That's something that's being released in December, and about biohacking
Yeah.
information, and the cloud does play a huge part in that. So
Yes. Yes. Great. So yeah, biohacking is just really increasing in the consciousness of people, and You know, it means different things to different people, and different people have different definitions, but it's, you know, kind of this around, are there things that we can do, inputs that we can bring in that can sort of catalyze or trigger healing responses or improvements that we hope to see. You know, sometimes this has a little bit of a shortcut, you know, mentality to it, which, you know, it's a mixed bag. Some things are great, you know, but also it's like, what can we do this and tweak this and do this to try and get the system to heal and be as vital as possible. And there's great stuff out there for sure. And sometimes a lot of it is very like single focus, single influence, like, you know, one peptide or this, or just this nutrient, just this thing, or just do this thing. And those can have effect. But to me, like the battery, you know, analogy, if you don't have the underlying molecular activation, your ability to fully respond to those other things will be limited. And so the way I see the cloud fitting into this, and what you mentioned is the largest health-related docuseries ever produced is going to premiere December 15th in Las Vegas at a big conference called A4M. It's going to go to Amazon Prime, translated into 50 languages. A whole podcast is going to come off the back end of it. A publication is going to come off the back end of it. It's massive. In the first episode, it's called Biohack Yourself. And if you go to Lolly Brands, LOLLI brands.com, Biohack Yourself, you'll see there's trailers and stuff, because that's who's like producing this whole thing. In the first episode, Nick Gleim, the founder of Centropics, co-founder of Centropics, is featured in the Kloud, is featured in that first episode. So the cloud exposure is going to absolutely explode starting in December, and for good reason. And in my having been aware of the biohack space and seen a lot of great things happen from that, to me, the mat is like the bottom course of a pyramid stones. Like it's laying there, and you build anything else you do on top of it. So all these other wonderful biohack inputs, to me, need to be laid on top of the mat. Because if you don't have that underneath, the other biohack inputs will be limited. Because I've tried them. I've done tons of supplements, and I'm pretty well versed in it. And some you know, but they didn't take me to where I wanted to go. Lots of cold plunging. Yeah, freeze my butt off. Like, you know,
that's huge right now.
Which is huge. It's great. I love it, and it helps. But I was hitting a mitochondrial supports and this, and I'm really careful with nutrition, and I treat my body well and work on my mental, emotional, spiritual health, which are great, and I'm doing awesome. But I felt there was a ceiling. Like and for me, it was an energy ceiling. I just couldn't get above that, and I'm like, what else do I need to do? And I wasn't dealing with the bottom. I wasn't dealing with the foundation. I was like coming in here and doing this and doing that and doing that. And yes, it's helpful, but I didn't have the molecular charge and the nervous system balancing that I think was, you know, needed. And that's where I feel passionate about this in terms of the biohacking. Like, these are great, awesome. But if you don't have this at the bottom, like the cloud foundation, the root support, so that your body can respond to those things, it's going to be limited, or it will temporary and then go back, temporary, go back, temporary, go back. And a lot of people in the back, they're like, they go and get this IV and they get, and then boom, they're down. Or they do this and then down. Or they're like, this doesn't do anything. Why is it not doing anything? It may be that you just don't have the energy at the molecular level.
So Dr. Joe, I'm a real visual person, and I know we went over this in our other video, but for the folks that are with us right now, would you do me a favor? Would you show that charging battery image with people on the cloud, and talk us through that, because it's staggering. And then I think even the difference of why this Kloud Mat is so special, why it's able to charge the cells. Yeah,
because I mean, I told you I'd seen, you know, PEMF devices in the past, and they just weren't quite compelling enough for me. So I mean, basically, you're lying on this very portable, lightweight, battery-powered mat that has a computer in it, and it runs a signal through copper coils that are running down both sides. So it's energy transfer. You're going from electromagnetic pulsing to transferring that energy directly to your molecules. So now they're charged, and your body can go, this is what I want to do. I'm going to use that energy to clear this out, to finish this healing process, to repair this tissue, to detox, to whatever. Immune system, do what the immune system has to do every single day.
Right.
And then this other piece was just showing why the Kloud is different. So all the way on the right is the Kloud. So these are most quote PEMF devices are these simple narrow band. The signal is very kind of basic and only in this range. So you only get a few molecules activated. In 98 was the first expansion of that. Better, much, much better. More molecules. And then this is the Kloud jump, which is actually PMA, pulsed electromagnetic activation. And Dr. Kafka, the inventor, did the calculations. There's 50 times more molecular activation in a 15-minute session than anything than the best on the market. Other than that, and that's what's so compelling about it. And then this is how cells respond. These are human cells. The ones on the bottom got one Kloud session. The ones on the top didn't. Time lapse over 24 hours, and you can see they're partying. They are. The nutrients are the same, the light, the temperature, everything the same, but these were molecularly charged. So now they can heal twice as fast.
Yes. And then if you don't mind that slide just before that, again, for us visual folks, that's why we're suggesting the Kloud is the foundation to start.
Yeah. So all the way on the left, here's quality of life all the way here. But and then here's biochemistry, right? Diet, nutrition, supplements. I would say a lot of other biohack inputs are trying to influence biochemistry. So you get physiology, self-healing, resilience. But before that, you have to have the physics, the molecular activation. And this is where the Kloud comes in. And that's why it's so universally supportive, is that it starts here. It's the first domino.
Yes.
And if you're missing the first domino and you're trying to get these to go forward, it's kind of hard, and sometimes you just can't. So this all made sense to me. And when I saw people start healing faster, come off of plateaus, people had stopped improving, or people just like who were already doing quite well, like increasing their level of vitality.
Yes.
I'm like, initially it took me a while. I was like, how is that possible? But now I get it directly myself, and this really explains that domino effect.
Wonderful. Well, what else do we need to know about biohacking ourselves using the Kloud and maximizing our potential?
Yeah. I just, it's pretty simple, in that this multiplies and maximizes whatever else you're doing. And these other like fine-tuned and specific inputs in the sort of biohacking sphere are awesome, but done without the underlying adequate charge, they in my opinion, they have limited effect and limited sustainability. And so plus, like you, I've worked so hard to help people, particularly these complex chronic illness people, to try and figure out how to help them. I mean, you do all these kinds of things. And this is the reason that I'm actually on this video. I vendor occasionally. People like, you're an MD. Why are you here? What are you doing this for? I'm like, well, people need to know this.
They do.
They need to know this because they're working so hard when they're not actually addressing an underlying piece that's holding them back. So it makes your job easier as a clinician, is it?
Yes.
Because you're like, oh, wow, things work so much better.
I also love teaching patients so that they can be their advocate, because at 11 o'clock at night, when the baby can't sleep because they've got XYZ, mommy, my tummy hurts, this, that, or they're not feeling their best, they can help themselves. I love that ease. And again, I love helping patients advocate for their own health and well-being. So I love this piece.
It's a critical piece for vital living in the modern
Mhm.
world, in my opinion.
Yep.
Yeah.
We talked a bit in the last video, but it's safe for everyone, right?
Yes, the two caveats are pacemakers and pregnancy.
Mhm. Mhm.
Otherwise, and and that's just like something that they have to say.
Yeah, to say, yeah.
It is cleared as an FDA Class 1 medical product, so there's that piece, but there's no side effects, no side effects. Super
Mhm.
safe. It is a low intensity, high complexity PMF. So there are some quote PMFs out there that are super high intensity,
Mhm.
pow, pow, pow.
Yeah, they feel it. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a whole nother
Mhm.
realm. This is low intensity but high complexity. You don't have to
Mhm.
have that in super intense
Mhm.
power because you have this complex signal.
Mhm. Mhm.
Those high intensity ones have a very, and they're like, it's like a
Limited
very
focus, yeah.
interventional. And yes, they
Mhm.
have their role in certain things, but this is like diffuse support.
Wonderful. So we look forward to watching that first episode. And again, we'll share in the comments how you can access that. But Dr. Jeff, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being with us. And we'll probably invite Dr. Jeff back to tell us more. And please leave in the comments if there's other things you'd like to learn about
Yeah, for
the
sure.
cloud and applications. Let us know, and we'll bring that to you. So everyone, we are so glad that you were here. And we were able to bring yet another tool to optimize your health and your vitality. So, Dr. Jeff, thank you. We're going to talk to you again soon.
Sounds great. Take care.